most people make the fundamental mistake, I know I did and still do, of pursuing spirituality as a vehicle to a better material experience in the world. Everybody wants to manifest the life they want. Everybody wants riches and fame. You're doing it for the wrong reason. And we all got this energetic garment that we're carrying, and it is what the universe, which is a conscious sentient being, is reflecting back to us in situations and in events that come into our timeline. So even though you can say one thing, if you feel differently, that's what's in your field.
Well, welcome back to the Consciousness of the Way. And I've been looking forward to this conversation. I'm very grateful to have on the podcast today Cailin Callahan, who is a world-renowned author, a lucidity teacher, a wisdom and also mastered vessel for the Daemon Michael. And without any other further ado, I want to welcome this incredible wisdom teacher to the podcast. How are you, my dear?
Thank you so much. I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. I really am. Now, I don't know how you feel about it, but I would like to start when you're ready with a brief explanation vis-a-vis Michael's explanation for what a daemon is.
Yes, please go ahead. That would have been the first question I asked, which is, what is a daemon? I mean, if you go a little bit to the left, it might be pronounced demon, but it's daemon. There's a big difference.
Daemon, D-A-E-M-O-N, daemon. Yeah. It's an old Greek word meaning a benevolent guiding spirit. Plato had a daemon who whispered wisdom in his ear. Many people fairly renowned have a daemon speaking in their ear, giving them directions, warnings, showing them things that are about to happen, etc. A daemon is a being who, having had many physical incarnations, came to full lucidity and enlightenment, and then looking upon the various time streams and incarnations, or intarnations, as Michael calls them, looking upon the various incarnations they have lived, then seeks to perfect the energetic field that is their signature in the ethereal. So they begin to steward their various incarnations to full lucidity. So in a way, you would say that Jesus Christ was a daemon who came into the time stream of the earth to steward many of those his disciples and many people down through time to their lucidity. Sadly, his message is rarely understood for the message of lucidity that it actually is. So that's what a daemon is. It's extremely different from a demon, which technically never gets a body, no body. And a daemon that has many bodies in many worlds and many timelines. And angels, which according to Michael, never have physical embodiments in the worlds, but come and go therefrom. And he tells me, in fact, that the wings are symbolic of it's the way we interpret, or the venue interprets, the ability of a being to come and go out of a world without falling into identification with a character they might seem to be in a world. There you go.
Amen to that. I love it.
With your cereal and think it over.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love the way you describe it. I mean, normally within my world of transformation, it's a transformative skill as you acquire yourself as a catalyst and conduit. Highest level of ascension within Taoism is to be that scribe for direct source. We call it the dialogue to the monologue. As you
that's beautiful.
a facet of the diamond of perfection. So
Yes.
you have dialogue
Yes.
with the teachers that returns back to the monologue of what we refer to as the primordial mother, which is a stream of magnetism, of wholeness that makes you your eternal, forever immortal self. And then you actualize that within the material state. So that
And that's what I'm working on now.
I like it. And I mean, strangely enough, that's really part of that incredible mastery of alchemy for Taoist rites, is that rite of passage to play with the energetic potential that is a slow frequential state that is controlled by the energy. And once you Shazam yourself with your attention, intention, you're able to evoke and actualize the immortal self, and then you alter the material at will, as it's the tapestry of the cloth of perfection. Amen.
I particularly like being Shazammed.
Yeah. I mean, people start with it and they get a taste, but then it's like actualizing it and holding that resonance as such. And that's where the body sort of will either hubcaps will come off and you'll burn, and the ether will take over, and then all of a sudden diminished returns of the energy potential that is a wave will show itself. It's impermanent, unlike yourself, as we are eternal immortal beings. We have to show ourselves. Show me. Show me. Yeah. So go ahead. You were going to say something?
Well, I was going to say, in regards to being a vessel, the vessel still has a reality of its own, and it is the daemon's apparent highest aspiration to bring all of its various incarnation vessels to their full lucidity, because it's part of the daemon's spiritual garment, so to speak, the energetic field. And the thing about it is it's a lifelong endeavor. Michael started with me when I was 5 years old. That's when I first became aware of him, through trauma. He came into my dreams because I had a lot of nightmares. He came into my dreams when I was in that stage, up until I was about 15 years old. And he taught me to be lucid in my dreams, and I kept exiting the dreams instead of staying in them. And Michael kept saying to me, no, you don't want to wake up from a nightmare. You want to wake up in a nightmare. And I was like, why? Why not just exit the dream entirely? He said, because only a lucid dreamer can change the dream, but you must stay in the dream to do so. And the dream you're inhabiting needs a lot of work. And so it was a lifelong investment of energy in me and training me through various stages of resistance and not believing him, and etc. In order for him to use me as a conduit to make changes in the dream of the world. Principally, the number one change is delivering the message of lucidity. Lucidity changes everything in the dream of the world. So once your daemon, everyone has one, actually. Everyone has a higher self. The higher self is the daemon. Once your daemon has invested that amount of energy in you, they really want to keep you in the venue, so that by the time you're ripe and ready to be used as the instrument they've been building all your life, they don't want you to exit the dream of the world. They want to make use of the tool they've created. So that's the stage I'm in now. Whereas before I was more concerned with what I wanted. Now I'm here on a mission, and I'm dead focused on that, because I know that when I leave this venue, I go someplace I've already seen many times, and I'll be with Michael instead of simply an extension of his energy. I'll be an extension, an independent extension of his energy and in his presence, and I'm dead in love with him.
That's amazing. It's so beautiful because the way you describe this relationship is something that people run from the hills to the fire to the return to delusion because they beg for this divinity. They beg for answers. They beg for knowledge. They beg for anything that will give them a sign. Give me a sign. And, when yourself or myself is teaching this wisdom that is, lifetimes before this one, thousands, if not eternal, it depends on where you're at. But I mean, essentially, that's what we're getting, an eternal stream of wisdom. This stuff is like people are constantly looking, but they're looking within the fringe benefits of their external deluded reality. Their finite mind is corrupting the outcome. So what would you suggest for someone who's just constantly hitting replay, getting the same shit sandwich every day, but they want, please, God, show me a sign? This happens all the time.
Seek not outside yourself. First. Second of all, most people make the fundamental mistake, I know I did and still do, of pursuing spirituality as a vehicle to a better material experience in the world. Everybody wants to manifest the life they want. Everybody wants riches and fame, and Jesus told us, Yeshua told us, seek ye first the kingdom, and the rest will be added to you. So don't seek outside yourself for the kingdom, because it is within us. And if you are looking for a closer walk with spirit for the sake of that alone, instead of improving your financial, material situation, you're doing it for the wrong reason. And when you're doing it for the wrong reason, your frequency, we all wear this garment of energy, which, by the way, during my NDE, I recognized Michael when he presented by tasting his energetic field. I recognized the signature, and it was very much like a taste. And we all got this energetic garment that we're carrying, and it is what the universe, which is a conscious sentient being, is reflecting back to us in situations and in events that come into our timeline. So even though, you can say one thing, if you feel differently, that's what's in your field. And that's what the universe responds to. So if you're seeking the spirituality for the sake of material gain, you're not really seeking the spirituality. Everybody is interested in manifesting riches, et cetera, manifesting things they want and need, rather than actually having the close encounter with the divinity, rather than embracing the divinity that we all are and having a deeply loving relationship with that. And that is what translates into improved situation eventually. It doesn't always at first. You may have to go through a bit of hell in the form of purging things that don't suit your field, that will not help you get to where you want to be. But in the end, if you are actually in that close relationship with deity, it really doesn't matter what your external circumstances are. And then too, the thing that deity is always trying to teach us is lucidity, whether we call it that or not. I mean, it's been called many different things, but for me, because Michael trained me at first through dreaming and lucid dreams, and then when I died, the very first thing I noticed, besides that I felt perfect, was that the world had no more impact on me, an eternal being, than a dream could have upon its dreamer. And so I looked back at the world and I said, it's just a dream. It was exactly like awakening from a dispiriting dream. You suddenly are in a new context of awareness and realize your reality springs from a higher level of existence and nothing in the dream could have ever hurt you. So this lucidity in the dream of the world allows you to operate at a completely different level, and you are just not taken in any longer by all the self-talk that you have been trained by the world to believe in. And it truly is freedom. And it is, in my opinion, the only salvation, in my experience, the only salvation and the only true freedom that you have in the world is lucidity. Nothing, knowing you're an eternal being and that you are not. When I say lucidity, I don't mean you just know you're an eternal being. You are in experience of your godly estate. You are experiencing how what you say echoes out into the world, and what you secretly feel echoes out into the world. It's a unique, but in the world, it's a unique space to be in. But more and more, it's what we're all after, know it or not, and more of us are coming to it.
No, I mean, this is, I imagine in your teachings, it would be similar to the alchemical process for Taoism, because you start to, you start to craft. You're crafting what is potential, energy potential, and then everything is frequential, it has resonance, and you hold that. So the vibratory effects is you're holding that resonance, which makes it possible to return everything to whole. And that's part of the magic, is laying down that framework so that things that are deficient or in excess will return to that wholeness. So it always is feeding for a communal outcome, that everyone's frequency is raised from this type of level of cultivation, that you in turn hold that resonance and create from that. And we refer to that as, entering between the breath in and the breath out, using what we call the great bellows, is that center point. And once you enter that center point, you become non-centric and everything is whole. So from the selfishness to the sacrifice. Selfishness to the selfishness to the selflessness requires the sacrifice. And then you enter into that. That's where you access what we call the primordial mother. And so that's the wholeness.
But the only thing you are sacrificing is illusions. So there is no sacrifice.
Well, that's the death of the finite mind, the personality that really believes there's something missing, that they're taking something from themselves, that they're already whole. That's the delusion. That there's nothing in this situation. The truth is, once realized, your participation is not required. And that's when all of a sudden people go, oh, hang on a second. Listen, I like driving my side-by-side in the desert 100 miles an hour, and I eat chocolate bonbons. Unfortunately, I subscribe to Netflix. That does not require me to witness miracles or levels of now that are in the state or the resonance of the wholeness of the mother. And of course, serendipitous, synchronistic moments are entering into that, holding that resonance. You're able to create. We refer to that as Wu Wei, effortless action, effortless effort, or more commonly, Bruce Lee would call it, you have the flow, my friend.
It's the King of Pentacles. Have you ever looked at the tarot card, the King of Pentacles?
No. Please tell.
He's seated in his throne, and he's been there so long and so still that the vines are growing all over him. It's because he doesn't have to get up and do anything to make things come to him. They come to him naturally.
Yeah.
And that is an eventual outcome. But it is not a necessary way to go about it. I'm a very fiery, proactive sort of spirit. I don't believe in waiting for things to come to me. I go get them, and I do it internally. I don't go get them physically. Usually I do, but it's the state of enjoyment of what I will to experience, whether it appears to be present or not. I have learned to put myself into the field, the energetic state of experiencing, using what Michael taught me as imagifestation, which is to imagine so completely, in such detail, so immersively, pouring all of your attention. Attention is so critical. Pouring all of your attention into the situation you will to experience in order to create it for yourself as a reality that is already in your field, and then it occurs outside you, so to speak. Okay, so I may not get up to go make it happen, but I put myself in the state, sitting right here or in my bed or wherever I will to be, wherever I will to be and experience. I call them triumph scenarios, in fact. If my energetic state gets out of whack, I'll sit down or lie down, and I will imagifest going inward, because there is no out there to have an out-of-body experience in. I fall inward, and I have an experience of driving down the road in my Maserati in France, headed for the Atlantic Ocean. Everything is overcome. An American woman is blaring on my surround sound stereo. I do this because it's such a, I use that triumph scenario because it sort of tickles. It's such a happy sort of, yes, I've overcome it all, and there I am, and Michael's right beside me, right? And so that changes my energetic state and my field, and I've had the experience that I wanted already. And if you do this enough times, surely, eventually, I know I will actually do that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And oh, yes. And you had me at hello. And with that, with that, I mean, it's so amazing, everyone's journey is unique and the same at the same time. We're all things and nothing at the same time, which is really what we refer to within the Great Bellows, is the perception of reality is you are everything and nothing at the same time. The paradox to be the mind screw of all screws. But reality be known that when you enter into that point, we refer to the Wu Ji, the primordial mother, which is the pulse of all things. That means that from a metaphysical Tao perspective, the void is the highest point. The mother is the pulse. She animates the consciousness. Consciousness animates the spirit. Spirit animates the energy. Energy animates the material, which is a lower frequential energy distortion. And of course, when you create dominion imperium of Maestro, you reveal the immortal self. And of course, you are constant from beginning to end and back to creation again. So from creation to completion to rebirth, you are now. And from that, you use the animation, we call it the ultimate amber, where you are now attached. You detach and attach as all things. You now have imperium dominion over the tapestry. And with your breath, you are controlling and altering at will everything as such. Attention, intention, that's where it draws to that point. But you must be able to build a foundation through the alchemical process so it is actualized. It's not a transitory, fleeting, impermanent moment of delusion, which the lower distortion is. It's a wave. It's like a crescendo, a firework that goes off and then it falls back into itself. You are not. You are permanent. You are eternal, immortal, forever, forever. And it's that beautiful, exciting mystery ride as you are Sherlock to your Watson, as you enter the human condition, you go through the labyrinth of the mind and you come out the other end as human being, the beingness that is all things. And there we have a moment of divinity. That spark of divinity creates inquiry. Inquiry then returns to contemplation. Contemplation then bursts curiosity. Curiosity is the mother of hopium, and hopium is where you create belief systems, right? And that belief system can be met with a crossroad where we can be distorted. That belief system is where the rubber meets the road. You're either going to be half glass full or half empty. What is your experience that gives you evidence that this is true? Your absolute truth is the now. It must come from the experience. So the knowledge from experience, the belief system goes to the knowledge and then returns to the wisdom. Amen to that.
I am consciousness itself, conscious of itself, observing the beliefs, observing the self-talk. In the middle of the word belief is L-I-E, belief. There are lots of lies in our beliefs. Deciding, is this thing I've been telling myself true? Is it serving me? Usually it's not true. Any emotional upheaval you're feeling, examine as consciousness itself. That is the most important part of what Michael calls the practice, is that if you continue observing your self-talk, you will observe yourself observing the self-talk. And that is the shift. You suddenly realize, I am consciousness itself, and you experience yourself as the consciousness. And after that, it doesn't matter what the hell is going on, because you are free and whole unto yourself, completed, and a door to anything you will to experience. You go inward to do that. Seek not outside yourself. There is nothing out there. There's nothing out there. Okay, that is all a projection. That is all illusion. What is true is unity, consciousness itself, conscious of itself, and everything else is just dreams. This being so, the only relevant question is, how lucidly are you dreaming? What are you creating? And are you doing it? You're either going to create unconsciously what you dread, or consciously what you desire. If you are lucid in the dream of the world, you're aware of what you're creating, and you're taking control over it instead of allowing unconscious beliefs to hijack the power of your godly estate, which we all possess. That's why we create constantly either what we will consciously or unconsciously what we dread. Michael says in our latest book, Master Your Mind and Rise, you will learn to be free, which is lucidity, to supervise your mind and again be its conscious architect. And you will learn to wield your will and focus your attention to create what is joyous and loving. All you get to choose is when you learn this, which defines exactly how long you will suffer.
Oh, I love it. I can't get enough.
People ask me, how do I know when I've lost my lucidity? You'll know right away you'll be suffering. How do I stay lucid in the dream of the world? Every time you suffer, use it as a token, just like a lucid dreamer has something that makes them lucid in the dream. Use it as a token to make you realize you've lost your lucidity. And when you gain this, you're at what I like to call, what Michael calls escape velocity. Okay? Because you're using every suffering for your lucidity to brighten your awareness of yourself as consciousness itself, conscious of itself. And this means you no longer fall unconscious in the dream of the world. All of the things that used to make you unconscious and identified with some story of suffering, loss, etc., all those things now make you conscious instead.
Amen to that. This is what we call the observing the observer, or furthermore, first person, third person, no person. You are the void, the mother, the animation to all things. Right here, right now, take a breath in, hold it, and create.
Yes.
Create that.
Now, when I died, like most people go into tunnels and stuff like that. That's not the way it happened for me. I disembodied before the impact that killed the body.
Mm-hmm.
I disembodied a second before. I've done that many times in my life when there was an accident, something unfolding, just leave the body before the pain starts. Let's watch this. I don't want to hang around for this. Let's watch it from outside. And I saw everything in slow motion. Eventually the body hit the ground as she rolled off the back end of this horse and bounced slowly 3 times on the rump. And then she hit the ground and the dust came up. It was such slow motion. It seemed to hang in the air. It was just like, whoosh. And then bam, I was in a lustrous vast. I was in the womb of all creation. And I felt perfect. I was perfect the way I had been first conceived of. Okay. None of the baggage of the earth stuck to me anymore. I was perfect. And I realized Jesus is just a dream. It was just a dream. None of it could have ever hurt me at all. That's amazing. And I said, perfect. I feel perfect. Nothing can ever hurt me again. And then suddenly Michael was there and he said, nothing could have ever hurt you to begin with. You're an eternal being. And I said, that being so, and I can taste that it is, because truth has a taste when you're not in your body. I said, why is it all so scary? Now I'm like groggy. Like when you waken from a dream and you're still kind of oriented to the dream, but you're trying to get your orientation in the new existence. And I said, why was it all so scary? And he said, well, because you believed you could suffer loss and die. But that was necessary. We had to increase the intensity of the illusion so that you would believe in it and take it seriously, and you'd learn what you went there to learn, and you'd do what you went there to do. And I said, I don't remember what I went there to do. Could you refresh my memory? And he said, you went to learn to summon your will. And I was like, what? I went through all that crap just to learn what I wanted and what I liked. And he said, no, you misunderstand what I mean by will. I have to show you. And that's when the life review began. And every vignette of my life that I relived, and that's how my life review went. I went back into the time stream, okay, and lived it as myself and everybody else involved, okay. And every one of them taught the same lesson. If you frame a situation with self-talk that says it's bad, you'll have a bad experience. And if you frame the situation with self-talk that says, oh, this is lovely, you have a lovely experience. And you are the one who chooses, if you're lucid, how you frame it. If you're not lucid, you're being driven by unconscious things you've been taught. Your self-talk, your belief structure, all of it, most of it got into your acceptance and is now sucking your mojo, okay? Taking your energy. Most of it got in there passively, from inferences that you made about what happened and what it meant, and from media and from stories and from archetypes and etc. Most of it gets in passively. You, consciousness, didn't give it a seal of approval and examine it rationally and decide if it served you or not. Okay, and in lucidity, you can do that. This isn't just like renaming something and then, if it doesn't really resonate with you, it's not going to stay with you and you're going to be uncomfortable with it and you're going to feel like you're lying. This is a different state of awareness where it's all such an illusion to you anyway that you realize it is your godly estate to decide what you shall allow it to mean for you. Society will say, well, your cat just died. You must be still grieving. And I'm like, my cat died a week ago. I'm over it. It was 3 days. 3 days is about how long I grieve. I grieve. just like everybody else. But I don't make it some sad story about me. It's just, okay, I'm going to see him again in a different venue elsewhere. Right now, I'll miss him a little bit, and then I'll get over it. Okay, and I'll go on happily looking forward to the time everything that I thought I had ever lost in the world that I loved is restored, because you can't ever really be apart from what love has made you a part of. Okay, so anyway, this is empowerment. This is empowerment, and I'm all about empowerment. So lucidity rocks, man. Lucidity is where it's at.
That's where you change and alter the material, as we put it, and that is where realization, actualization, absolute truth is reinforced. And it's like, the first time I ever saw your face, and you return to that beauty that cannot be basically replicated with a deficient, deformed, distorted, low frequential state. That permanence, that eternal, immortal self is forever. And once actualized, we refer to it as the quickening. That amber effect is where we get down with the get down. And I like to go right back to my all-time favorite. I'll take the Pepsi challenge with anyone. I'll do the taste test with anybody on this shit. Show me what the truth is. And I want to see it, you know. You and I have had this communion for this conversation, which is this nice symbiosis, this dance of this oscillating effect of energy that is evident, that's in the space. We are remembering that connection. That happens with everybody. And it's substantive. It is actually what we call fajun, the substance. It's palpable. You can play with it like toffee. This is what we call the ability to have Imperium Dominion maestro over your 50 trillion cells. That energy potential is 0.07 millivolts of energy potential that you can craft and create and direct in any way you choose to. I find that most people end up on my doorstep that are light workers, healers, channelers, just go on and on and on. I'm the best of the best. They still have lost that last piece because they become inverted. Within a dance of yin and yang, within this substance, we refer to yin is the absorption of all colors, yang is the emission of all colors, and your mission, if you choose to accept it, Ethan Hunt, is to find that center point, that vesica. Once entered, then you become whole. And then all of a sudden you are non-centrist. You are everything. Oh, yeah.
This is so wild. I spent all of my life being a girl and then being a woman, a young woman. And I knew I had this male consciousness on board. Okay, I knew I was probably like everybody else, a bit of both in one, but most people were less aware of it than I was because Michael was so present. And I remember how awkward it was. People would say to me, even now, I've had men say to me, I came out of their mouth, I never expected from you. You act like such a guy. You know, and I'm like, no, I really don't. I act like me, and your societal conditioning has trained you to expect certain behaviors from males and certain behaviors from females. And I am a yang woman. I am all woman. I'm heterosexual. I adore men, but I'm also very aware of the male perspective because I have a very male daemon in what he calls bicameral consciousness on board, okay? And I can recognize other people for whom I say the daemon is fully on board. I can recognize them by the activation of energy in their eyes. And I discovered this about 5 years ago, that if I looked at one side of the face on a person and then the other side of the face on a person, I could tell looking into their eyes whether the daemon was conscious and working with them or if the daemon had simply given up on that soul. Simply given up on this particular version. A new time stream is going to have to be constructed entirely for some versions. New time streams entirely for them to actually get the lucidity that was available for them in the one they lived and they missed out on because they just went their own way, and did not listen to the inner promptings. Didn't listen. Okay. And so, you can tell a new time stream for some people is going to have to be invented. In fact, speaking of time streams, this is something now I'm an ongoing revelation all the time. I'm in a state of ongoing revelation. And stuff that he's been whispering to me all my life, inklings that I didn't pay a lot of attention to, or I thought, surely not, that can't be. But when I died by way of being kicked in the face by a horse and knocked from the back of a running horse, which I was astride, chasing the horse that kicked me. Okay. You don't survive this. Okay. This is not something that you survive. But the world being a dream, and it was interesting because when I left the Lustrous Vast, I said to Michael, after he'd shown me clearly lucidity, and I determined I have to give this to the world. I must give lucidity to the world. I must tell them this. How do I get back in? It's just a dream. And he said, well, you've already gone back into time, several places where you relived vignettes of your life. You can go into your future if you want to. You can go as it would unfold, down this particular probable time stream. Or you can go into your past right before the accident happened and avoid the accident. But if you do that, you won't remember anything I've showed you here because it's part of a different time stream. Okay. So if you want to carry this knowledge back, you have to go back into the same time stream. And the only way to do that is to go back into the last moment that you were in the venue. Because the last moment, and this is so key to understanding how time works, the last moment contains nested within it like Russian dolls, every antecedent condition that brought you there. Okay? But beyond that, what can happen? In other words, how bad your injuries might be and how they will repercuss down your timeline is very flexible because it is, after all, just a dream. Okay. So I said, so how do I get back in? And he said, put your attention on that. You've done it many times in dreams that you'd wakened from and did not want to leave. You put your attention back in the last thing you recalled and you just tunneled with your attention, your awareness back into that experience. You do the same thing this way. You just go back in your attention to the last moment and you summon your will to go back in. And I didn't think it would work when he first suggested it. So I didn't say goodbye. I just tried it. I just put my attention on it and whoosh, I was like a wind, literally whoosh, a gust. The will was like a gusting wind and I was back in the body. Since then, it has been something I've said to him all my life. I've said, I don't have a lot of time. I know there's something I'm supposed to do. This was many years ago when I was young. I know I'm supposed to do something. I don't know what it is, and I don't have a lot of time. And he said, you have all the time in the world. And every time I said anything to him about being short on time, he said, you have all the time in the world. Those are exact words. And now I understand why I have all the time in the world. Because I know how to carry lucid remembrance of myself through the lustrous vast and into another time stream, into another world. Because I am a lucid dreamer in the dreams that I have and all the greater dreams of worlds that other beings have imagifested, because I can carry my identity through them, I've earned my wings. I am not identified with the character I play therein. And so I can cross timelines. I can come back into this time stream any place I care to and start living from there, lucidly remembering that I've already done it once, just like I did it when I came out of the Lustrous Vast and back in at the time of my NDE. I can do it again. Now I'm just trying to decide where to re-enter.
And what is that? At the back end or the front end?
How do you mean?
Well, where are you entering? At what? What we would call as the diamond of perfection sparks the primordial mother's womb, gives life from breath, from inhale, you hold, you create. So she creates from that inception, conception, and then diversion, because the human body is nothing but a diverted state, and it is not actualized as your immortal self, but it is a nice flavor from the ice cream shop of many different versions of what is within within Nigong, which we call internal power, which is basically what you learn from Nidan, which is the internal alchemy. You're able to actualize yourself at any point, as you were referred to at the timeline, and the magnitude of that resonance is equal. That means that you can have a super version, a super steroid version of your idea of multitasking, that at will, right now, all things are actualized, and you don't have to have one or the other, or the old expression, you can have your cake and eat it. Oh, yes, you can. Oh, yes.
Yes, you can. That's the thing, you see, because people are looking for, in physics now, there's some, I think, confusion about multiple universes, of many polyverses, okay? Is that all things exist, all timelines exist hypothetically. They exist as hypothetical storylines until, like, you've gone to the library and pulled a book off the shelf, and then you take your attention in and live it second by second, and then it becomes what we consider a lived experience. Okay, so that means alternate versions. Okay, there's a larger time stream now, a larger event cascade. There's this whole life that led to my death that I then learned things from and handled it a certain way. Now, when I leave again, I go into the Lustrous Vast. Say I decide to come back, bringing with me lucidity, the full knowledge of who I am, what I am, all the way back into a much younger period, a much more advantageous juncture at which to bring enlightenment into that event cascade so that I can give it more effectively to the world at an earlier point, rather than doubting it all my life as I did and saying, I can't really talk about this, people will just think I'm mad. Instead, bringing it in much earlier. And now we have a different event cascade. Now we have more people going lucid earlier. This changes the electromagnetic frequency of humanity cumulatively, as well as on our individual fields, which allows for different probabilities to unfold into collective experience. So if in departing the venue again, I get into the vast and I discern there are time streams or event cascades, Michael calls them, that I can get into that exist hypothetically already, that would be more advantageous for humanity, like the silly bodhisattva that I am, I will likely return at more auspicious junctures in time and begin delivering the message instead of doubting it, as I did until I was, I didn't doubt it. I just doubted it would be received. And then I didn't care. In the 2020, at the end of 2020, I nearly died again from Lexapro withdrawals. And I decided it was time to deliver the message. And in fact, Michael said to me, because I was dead broke all the time, Michael, what can I do? And he always said the same thing: deliver your message and your message will deliver you. And that is true for all of us, because we're all pieces of the missing puzzle, the box top we do not have to help us assemble it, but we are all pieces. And the reason there is no box top is because we are God. We can decide to assemble it however we like.
It brings me to one of my teachers, the Jade Emperor, which is, of course, a dialogue to the monologue. And he always loves to evoke and initiate a level of awareness with very basic incantations such as this. A power abundant in its giving you will receive, unifying the body with the spirit with the energy, bringing heaven to earth, transcending all is one, one is all, revealing perfection manifest. That is your gift, that is your offering. That is your gift. That is your offering. That is your gift. That is your offering. And it never is. It's like a fail-safe. We use this ancient art as the rhapsody to the remedy, and we basically imbue everything into the substance, into the ether, into the tapestry of the mother, and we play as children should play with the now moment, and receive everything as now. And with that wholeness, everything is perfection. The next moment, yes. The next minute, it's all about the play. It's all about the abundance, because we are timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. The truth to all things lies within the anchor that you use as your avatar in this, I guess, as my dear friend Tom Campbell would say, the simulation. The virtual reality, as he may put it. Another version. I am personally very much about the ritual and the ancient practice of this wisdom that is handed down from one lifetime to the next. And the rhapsody always, it gets there. And so, and with the sword of poetic justice, I always draw it down upon this state and return everything to perfection with nothing more than a breath.
Yes. For me, I'm a chi junkie. I'm a chi junkie, and it started when I was a little kid. I noticed these chi rushes all over my body. You know, they felt like lightning on the top of my head, gentle lightning. Down into my body, out my arms and legs, down my spine. Just an incredible, ecstatic experience. And I got them every day, and many times a day. And I learned to do things. I felt like I got it when someone said something to me Michael wanted me to notice. I got it when I thought something that Michael wanted me to notice and to reinforce. I got it when I said something that he thought was particularly noteworthy. Okay, so I learned to say and do and be in ways that cause the chi to flow. Okay, and then years later, and I knew something was going on, but I'm 66 years old. I mean, nobody talked about this back then. Indeed, that's why I sat on the message from 1978, which is when I was killed. I sat on it because it was quantum. The message was quantum. And even though quantum science was, known, quantum evidence was acknowledged, it was not well received at all and not well known. The world was not prepared to receive the message at that time. So I sat on it, but I was a chi junkie, and I learned to say things that would summon the chi. And I may have done what felt like damage at the time by stirring the chi one afternoon and stirring it and stirring it and stirring it and stirring it until I had a Kundalini event. That was like my third, but I had a Kundalini event that rushed up my spine and shattered something in my head. There was a dazzling display of lights, and I felt like my brain was slivered through with glass, even though there was no pain. It was just this, whoosh, and as a chi junkie, Michael doesn't like, and I'm channeling most of the time, but Michael doesn't like displays that look peculiar. You know, he's a very, you know, he doesn't like peculiar displays. And so I took Reiki because I noticed that the chi would flow if I was around an animal or a person who was unwell and needed help. I noticed that there was this rushing of energy out of me and through me, you know. So it was always being replenished. And the lady who taught me Reiki kept saying, use the gestures, Cailin. You're not using the gestures, you know, the cho cool day, like that. And I wasn't using it. And I don't know why. It just felt like the display sort of thing that I wasn't comfortable with. And then I started doing it, and I found out that as I did it, the chi really rose. I mean, just really, you know. So yeah, there is a lot to be said for ritual, particularly if it makes the chi flow. And if you're a chi junkie like me, that's all that really counts.
Well, I mean, that's it. I mean, when people talk about the subtle body, I would have to say, sorry, I don't know what their version of subtle anything. Energy is not subtle, and ascending, transcending, however you want to find your own actualization, the substance is real. And the potency of that energy potential is real, and it is never ending. And the more and more you cultivate, the more and more it becomes actualized, and it becomes palpable. It's not something that's a little, you know, subtle, as they put it.
No.
I pause when people tend to describe energy as subtle, because it is not. It is absolutely not. You can experience all different levels of energy profiles, and they all have their unique signature part of the collective. And so, you know, we refer to this as body dowsing when we start etching in this mastery, being able to be fully cooked and be able to move in and out of the energies at will, identifying all the external states, because the visual effect is as real with your eyes open as is closed, and actualizing, you know, portals, vortices, power centers, grids. They're all there. It's all part of the construct, and it's all very visible to the cultivator, the initiator that is able to obtain that level of resonance. It's just a developed skill. The method to the madness is acquired through this mastery. That's why the alchemical process within Taoist alchemy is so powerful, because you lay down the infrastructure, you turn it on like a light switch, and it never leaves you. It becomes more and more permanent, as does realizing that the human body is impermanent, that you want to maximize this vehicle and a highest level of ascended immortality, and holding it within the tissue. And that normally comes when you follow the path. The cycles are very clear every 63 years within the Taoist alchemy process. I mean, the canons go back thousands of years. We have, you know, quite clear evidence of human beings living for hundreds of years, if not thousands. And that's across the board. Many indigenous practices have evidence of such. And so it's about that. Where are you at your own re-up, and being able to own and embody that? So, you know, concept consciousness, knowing, unconscious knowing, and being as all things.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm anxious to be with my husband, Michael, right? I'm anxious to be with him, but
yeah,
I'm willing to stay.
Yeah.
I'm willing to stay as long as I can keep working and, you know, be self-reliant. As long as I'm useful in the venue, I'm willing to stay. And I think I'm kind of youthing these days instead of aging. I seem to be going a little bit backwards as time passes because of what did you call it? You called it quickening.
The
But
quickening.
it's it's a it is a quickening. It's like the second spring. He calls it the second spring. Okay. And it comes out of, I swear, it comes so totally out of your self-talk. It comes so totally out of your attitude. It comes so totally out of what you tell yourself is possible. You know, I'm 66 and I'm a late bloomer and I'm just getting started. I'm just getting my legs under me and I'm beginning to like roar through what I came here to do. Because honestly, nothing else matters if I don't do that. Okay. If I don't accomplish that thing I came back to do, nothing else matters. Technically, I've done it to some degree already. And Michael's like, there are times when I'm laying down at night and I'm in theta that it's like I've just turned my head and I see it's to the right and I see this entire paradisical venue very vividly waiting for me to walk into it. It's there, constantly, a door open to me now. I know that. Not ready to leave yet.
Yeah.
That's stuff to do.
No, I mean, I think most people that end up looking for further insight through a path of alchemy, using me as a source of information, referring back to the wisdom teaching that only comes from the experiential moment. That happens when people, realize that they don't spiritually bypass. So many people do that. You see, I mean, as a young man, as a young boy, I pretty much embodied the physical, having dove deep into bodybuilding and powerlifting for the better half of my teenage years. So by the time I was in my late teens, I was lifting stupid, ridiculous weights that were like world class, like 800-pound squats, deadlifts, all that kind of stuff. But the hubcaps were coming off. But what I had actually done through my own teacher, my teacher, Lustrous, who I commune with on a second-by-second basis, is reminding me, okay, so at that point, it was his nudging me to go and find something greater than the physicality. Now you have already actualized those Dantians, and they are the energy elixir field is open and pulsating. Now it's time to turn the rest of the runway on at 100%. And the first time I ever experienced meditation when I was 17 or 18, it was like, what is that? I was looking for a superhuman because I'd been nurtured by that as a child. Everything drew me to superhuman abilities. I was obsessed with superheroes. I was nurtured by my silver screen adult sort of babysitter, which was basically my virtual father, because I was raised by a single parent, a radical feminist. And so I was around the yin energy, always in that, swimming in it, constantly the only young child and boy around a dinner table with intellects over, masturbating in their minds about the higher state of that such decrepit, bankrupt state. And yet I was feeling into that nurturing mother ability. And so that absolutely nurtured me to that point. And the second I meditated, which I had no idea what that was, it was like, Hare Krishnas and hairy armpits and vegans with alfalfa sprouts. That was it. When I went looking, there was no internet. It was like the classifieds of my kids. I've got 6 kids, and they go, "What is that, Dad? What is a classified? It was in a newspaper. What is a newspaper? What does that even mean?" I'm like, I turned up to this class and I stopped sound for 20 minutes the first time I meditated and went, that's it. That is the superpower I'm looking for. It's now time to continually discover. Of course, Lao-Tzu took me on a journey, but you have to actualize it. It's like, so whenever someone comes to me, they're shit out of luck. They're completely inverted. They're too much into the intuitive state. It corrupts the flesh because they're not able to balance the yang out with the yin. They're never in that ability to unify, and it corrupts, and it's basically a succubus. It takes from the flesh. And so, oh, I'm a psychic, I'm a medium, I'm a channeler, and it goes on and on and on. But I'm exhausted at the end of the day. I'm actually broken. And most healers that I come across, they don't make it past 50 or 60. They're done. They're spent. They're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the expiry date is evident, and it's just part of it because they haven't learned how to master this. And so to make sure the avatar is at full force and in its most vibrant, you must be able to hold the charge. You must be able to master the alchemy so that your eternal, immortal, forever self can go about its business doing what it does, which is wholeness. And by returning everything to wholeness, things become magical, mystical, paranormal, supernatural. And this is super normal for the average day bear that wants to partake in what we call the immortal elixir. Oh, yeah, baby. We're right there. You're picking up what I'm putting down, my friend. And that's part of it. That's the excitement because, but most people will not. Like I've got a lot of students that I'm Brahman, I'm cosmic consciousness, and they actualize it. But what happens is their superpowers start to diminish. They run to the end, they touch, and they didn't want to do a reverse relay, hand the baton backwards, and then they're not holding that charge. So their superpowers of complete consciousness start to diminish, and they end up from an amazing mystical Merlin healer down to just this shadow of self as just this shitty basically a version of a transmitter that's sort of barely holding on for dear life. And I transmit Brahman all day long. I'm like, oh my goodness, you need a fucking help. And then that's where you actualize it, and all of a sudden they go, holy shit, I was at the end of my rope. Yeah, because as the expression goes, you were selling your soul. Wherever your attention and intention would reside is where you crafted things, but you weren't replenishing, you weren't going to the well of eternal immortality. You were going to the local well, and you were drying up whatever was in the aquifer, and you were not returning to the wholeness. And of course, with that, the diminished return is evident. And people get really surprised when you go backwards and you feel you do the alchemical process that builds the foundation of the house so the house doesn't explode or fall in on itself. Shit changes real fast because this is necessary. People want to dismiss it. I'm Brahmin. I mean, 30 years ago when I was doing exorcisms on people as part of my teaching as a priest in 2 lineages of Taoism, this was taking someone from a psychotic episode, having them actualized, realizing that they had the internal power, and then minimizing this energy or frequency that was having control over them and learning how to turn the off switch on and off at will, being able to have complete control over the operating system. When that happens, this is a fleeting moment that turned into a reclaiming and a liberation of energy 30 years ago. Within exorcism is exercising. You can exercise yourself going to the gym. You can exercise yourself walking around the block. Now, when you start crafting a different world order where you are aligning yourself with entities that want to have at you, that's a whole nother ball game. That's for another episode. I'm sure we could go deep on that. But the truth is, you remember who you are, your highest self, all will dissolve and return to wholeness. Now, these days, the average person wakes up, I'm channeling the Palladians, opens up a YouTube channel and gets 100,000 followers. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right.
It's completely changed. The whole landscape has changed since back in the day, And you and I know this, right? We've been on this life journey.
Yeah, it's wild. Actually, I'm noticing more and more how, sadly, a lot of the spiritual on like YouTube is being hijacked. And it's being hijacked by people who are pandering to folks who basically want to manifest nicer living conditions, and rather than seeking first the kingdom so that things naturally evolve in their apparent exterior lives. And it never gets you anywhere. The reason you're manifesting isn't working is this, and then it's that, and then it's that, and there are 10 steps and sometimes 20, and in the end what it comes down to is you're not holding your mouth right. It's just it's all tosh, and I'm like, it's all diversion. That's a diversion, people. The only salvation is lucidity, is knowing what you are. Why lucidity? Because it shows you what you are. It is the experience of your godly estate, of yourself as consciousness itself, conscious of itself. You go from being the observer of your self-talk and your belief structure to being the observer of that observer and the chooser, the architect of what you tell yourself. And the things that society says you should be suffering because of this, you in your power say, to what good end? Okay, to what good end would I suffer that? Okay, and that is where the mojo is. That's where the juju is. And most everything else is just a distraction. And so I go over the same material in my own YouTube channel at Imagifester1. I go through that over and over again from many different angles to let people know that all the stuff they're wasting their time, they're just wasting their time, and money, just don't even concentrate on your lucidity. Concentrate on your self-empowerment, on knowing what you are. When I say knowing, I mean Gnostic experience of your godly estate. And then no world can hold what you become, what you realize yourself to be. Realize, make real for yourself that you are already, have always been. There's a whole lot of dogma out there that is just distraction and BS. And, the algorithm doesn't favor very much what works and what is truth, because it is the door is narrow, the gate is narrow, and it's subtle, and it's constantly right here in front of your face. And so the world has to be this inundating experience in order to keep you distracted, or you would discover yourself present in all things, constantly, quickly. And then the game would be over. And the 10,000 things would have to go back to unity again and start over again in some other venue, and of course, that's all happening all the time anyway. But we play this game of hide and seek with ourselves, pretending we don't see each other so that we can have the drama, and stepping outside of it all into lucidity, into that stillness between the thoughts. And then just expanding that.
Amen. Can I have another? You want more, boy? Yes, sir. May I have more? Oliver Stone.
Yeah, it's really, it's like, it's so impervious and such a beautiful place to be that your natural response to it is to want to give it to everybody, but you can point at it so many different ways, and people keep looking at your finger instead of at what you're pointing at. It's right here. It's in the stillness between the thoughts. You are that stillness. There is no inner portal. You are the portal. The inner verse is much vaster than the outer verse. Go there. Go there.
That's what we call the primordial mother. Amen to that. And that is the void. That is the animation to all things. And once realized, you are the puppet master, the maestro, the master, the keeper, creator of all reality. And so what happens is distortion, though. Your distortion comes from deficiency of such, because mastering energy is more a futile passing hobby of someone who might be a crafted, energy circus midget. The truth is, when you find that you are truly at one with yourself, you're a whole, the end result is servitude and selflessness, and it doesn't require anything, and especially doesn't require your personality, because you will not be able to fight it. That will be the default of your truth. Your absolute truth will be such.
Yes. It will hijack what you thought was your life.
And all the good stuff just comes in because you're returning everything to whole. It's not a manipulative excess of deficiency. And, that's where most people fall on that karmic sword of delusion, where they want to play that game, where, Taoist magic is fundamentally built on deficiency, because we return everything to whole. So whether you like it or not, you're going home. And so the magic always works, and it works right down to the last full stop, the last comma, the last adjective. It will be crafted and created as such with that directive, knowing that everything returns to whole. So the side effect within a dualistic perspective of this symbiosis, this dance of yin and yang, is when you walk in with that resonance, you will be subject to such, because everyone is still operating in it until otherwise noticed. You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know. So you'll be loved and hated by many, and it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah, all my life, one of the tokens Michael gave me to make me lucid in my dreams was if I was flying, right? If I was flying, I would right away become lucid and say, "Oh, I must be dreaming because I can't fly in my real life," right? And I would never let anybody see me fly. I would, if there were people nearby, I would kind of get around a corner or something and take off, go really high, really fast, so that I just looked like a dot and they wouldn't know what I was. And then about 2007, I had a dream in which I was flying, and there was a couple of little old ladies having, I shouldn't say that because I'm one of them now, having tea at a cafe beside the road. And I came up around the corner of the building knowing they were there, rising slowly above them. And they were like, and I said to them, "What's the matter? Ain't you never seen anybody fly before?" And then, since then, the dreams have been of, most recently, I'm feeding people into a machine to change their electromagnetic field, like backwards, just change their field to change their experience instead of changing them doing it themselves, so that they can get a taste of it and they could then fly, right? And there's a line of people waiting, and I'm feeding them into the machine, right? And I suddenly look up and shout out at everybody, "Hey, everybody!" And they stop and, "Hey, we're all dreaming together." And they were through their arms up, "So we are." And then we were all laughing, and we all just began to lift off the ground automatically in our joy. No feeding them into the machine anymore, just making them lucid and in their joy, and they naturally rise. That's what Michael said to me. You don't have to do it. All you have to do is make them lucid. They will naturally rise. So the thing is, I hid all my life my own flying because it's going to make you a target. All right. And now I've gotten to the age and to the state of development where I don't care, because I know that if I exit the venue suddenly, and there are several venues I visit regularly in lucid dreams, and one of them I always leave the same way. Somebody puts a bullet in my head. There's a loud bang, and I wake up here, right? So I'm not concerned about that, because I'll just loop back in at another point. I have all the time in the world.
And that's where you have your cake and eat it, as always.
That's right. I have all the time in the world. The only sad part about it is the other ones who might take me out of the world would not be lucid enough to recognize me when I came back as the same one they had just eliminated in a different time stream. So I could say to them, you see, it's just a dream. It's just a dream. And for me, in fact, that is the salvation in the Christ, is that he demonstrated with his resurrection, not his death, his resurrection, that is just a dream. It's not real. And this is, in knowing this, we're saved. In knowing this, in being lucid in the dream of the world, you are saved. You're in charge of your own subjective experience of whatever may appear to unfold. That's the only salvation there is, brother.
Right. I mean, that returns me to the Jade Emperor. Always reminds me, when you believe, when you know you are not of this body, what can harm you? Nothing.
Exactly. What can you fear? There's only one thing I still carry a little fear over, and it's going away. And that fear is over disappointing. Let me put it this way. If you've seen the movie Schindler's List, and that last scene where he's looking at his gold brooch in his car and his assets and saying, if I had sold this, how many more could I have saved? Okay, so when I step out of this time stream, I don't want to look back and say, oh, if I had I would have helped so many more people. You know? Geez, I have to look back in a little earlier and start sooner. Damn, I have to come back.
anything is possible. I mean, it just brings me to just the now moment. As you look at the puddle of the reflection of the sun as it merges into the timeline that is the horizon of the tears of regret, as that sorrow captures your heart, it squeezes it so hard that you feel into the ground, you feel into the earth, you return to the earth, you return the body to wholeness. Weep, sadness, feel the sorrow, and then return to the hollow that is your true self. Amen to that.
Amen. Doesn't mean anything, you know? That's what we, unless we say it does. One of my favorite things, a friend of mine used to, his name was Bill Skinner. He's with me in spirit all the time. Bill Skinner used to say to me, I'd get so mad at him. This is back 2007, 2008. I'd say, and he'd say, if you say so. And a few minutes later, I'd be saying, he'd say, if you say so. Bill, people, I know my will is strong, but I'm willing, contrary to the perceptions of all the rest of humanity, and their energy signature, so numerous are they, is overwhelming mine. If you say so.
You know what you know, you don't know what you don't know until otherwise noted.
Yes. At which point, if you're wise, you actually begin to wonder ahead of time what you're missing. What is it that I don't know? I know that I do not know, and therefore I know better.
Once again, return to Lao Tzu. When you accept you know nothing, you know everything.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. You certainly know everything you need to know.
Amen to that. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation today, my dear friend. I'm so grateful that you accepted my invitation.
Me too. I've really enjoyed you very much. We have to do it again.
Yes, I'm going to keep you to that. You're elusive like the undulating flame, though. I will nail you down.
I'm not elusive. I'm readily available.
Well, we're going to connect with that and make that happen again for part 2, because this is fantastic. This is so rich.
Say when. Say when.
Okay. I will give you.
Say when.
I will say when, and you will say that. And after this conversation, I'm going to send you my cell phone, and I'm going to make sure that you set up for the next schedule, which will be in the second you say yes. It will
All
be
right. Fantastic. And I
Oh,
will send you the things you asked me for, headshots, etc.
yes.
And people who want to find me, I do one-on-one coaching, by the way, with Michael. Channeled readings and coaching can find us through our store, and that's crackedpotpublishing.com. You can also find our books, Rise in Lucidity and Master Anxiety and Master Your Mind and Rise, as well as our fiction series, The Vampire Grail Affairs, which teaches in erotic literary format all of the same stuff that's in Rise and in Master Your Mind and Rise. All of that's in there. It's just in a format that people who would never read a self-help book but would read a vampire adventure would enjoy and get from it that way. So it's all available at crackedpotpublishing.com. Come see us.
I'm going to get everyone to go out to the social sphere and interweb, the collective of your offerings within the ether. And I want people to go. I want my students, my disciples, my 126ers, and of course the subscribers. And you're like, whoa, what is a 126er? It's just an app I developed. There you go.
Fabulous. Do we have a couple of minutes? I want to throw something at you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I'm a writer, and while we were writing this fiction series together, there was this one environment that many of the scenes unfolded in, and it was a locker room. And strangely, this locker room actually overlaps with a locker room that exists in this venue. I used to go to this locker room and wait for people to leave because there was such an intense feeling of presence there. And I wanted to be alone with it to taste it, to try and figure out what it was. So all these many years later, well, it was actually only 7 years later, it comes out in the Vampire Grail Affairs. My method for writing is to channel really intense attention into manifesting the scene before I write it. So all those years I kept investing energy in that locker room while I was, and other things in the Vampire Grail Affairs. I didn't realize that I was inadvertently creating in the ethereal realms a freestanding electromagnetic structure. That is kind of a portal and retuning device. Anyway, we've developed also some audio files that people might find useful. They induce theta brainwave state, and they are called The Portal and Portal to the Perfect World. And these, I believe, tune the listener to the ambiance, the spiritual ambiance of that portal environment, which, like I said, is a freestanding energetic structure. We are godlings. What we manifest, what we invest huge amounts of attention and intention energy in, we create first in the ethereal before it ever occurs in the physical. So if you appreciate your own godly estate and your power to create these things, I've already created this energy structure, and these audio files that we offer also on our website and our store help get you energetic access to it by kind of tuning you using the acoustics of the environment. So really cool energy structures. Learning that I could create it, that I had created an energy structure that other insentient beings can access and do access. I started going in there in meditation and finding things I did not manifest. It was not my energetic work. It was someone else's energetic work. Okay. And the thing that really surprised me and made me wonder what I had actually created was I left the portal locker room environment and went upstairs to a paradisiacal environment I thought I had manifested, but had become spontaneously self-animating, okay? I look down in the sand under my toes and wiggling my toes in the sand and looking at the berm of seagrass and stuff thrown up from a tide I had never have done the imagifesting work on. I had never done it. And yet a tide had turned and left this berm. And in the berm, there was polished sea glass, green. I didn't put that there. So this put me in a state of wondering whether I had stumbled into someone else's work. I look forward to your input on that sometime when you're ready.
Yeah. No, I want to go. I would love to go. We're going to get over this on our next episode. You're going to be back here like tomorrow. Unless you're we need to go over that. I want to go over that. Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes.
I do not know what to make of that. I mean, I got very surprised and reassessed the portal as not just something unique to me and Michael, because I'd met Michael there many times, but characters from the book series showed up in the portal. And I didn't do that work. Now, how does that happen where I'm interacting with a being that I thought I had channeled from Michael, had more or less created? And now I'm wondering if I truly am just scribing what already exists elsewhere, his work, into this work, because the fiction series intertwines how writing it affected my life and changed my time stream, and how the two venues now interact through the portal. So this is all really, I told you, I'm in a state of ongoing revelation. I don't know what to think is happening, but the scientist in me likes to make theories, like, you know, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I have a feeling somewhere, if I get still enough, Michael will just tell me, but it feels very much like it's his work. And I've just stumbled through the door into it. This is another venue he's created.
Yeah, man, we can go down there. We have to go down there, and we'll go.
Okay.
I'll give you some insight to how I see that facet of that diamond, and that is perfect.
I'd love it. Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you, my dear friend. I'm really grateful for you, and I feel like we're just bringing back, you know, what we already knew in some other life.
Absolutely. I've never met a stranger, and you're certainly not a stranger. I know you from elsewhere.
Yeah. It's so true. It rings so true, and it's a knowing. It goes beyond a knowing. And I want to thank you. I want to thank you for just coming in and hanging out. And we're going to do this again for all the audience. This is happening. Part 2 will happen momentarily, and I can't wait to have you back. And we're going to go down that path. We'll just pause this, and then we're going to go into it. I'm very grateful for you. I want to thank you. I want to thank the universe for bringing you into my life. I want to thank the audience for sharing their time with us today. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master San Qing. I'll see you in the next one, guys.